Hello and welcome to the Adapt and Survive video series, where we approach prominent members of the travel retail community and ask them how they are dealing with the impacts of the global coronavirus pandemic. I'm here today with Olivier Jager, who's the CEO of Forwardkeys. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. My first question for you today would be, how would you describe the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic thus far to Forwardkeys as a business?
Good morning, Charlotte. Thanks very much for having us here. Well, you know, at Forwardkeys, we've been witnessing the collapse of volumes of travelers, just to use one metric we're very familiar with, from the very early stages of it. And we've been looking at this with our customers, and some of them are crucially impacted by this situation, namely those shopping malls that are highly relying on international travelers, tax refund operators, duty-free operators, airports, and obviously some brands. But you know, we're doing what our job is, and our job is to be with our customer, follow our customers, and being with them. As private businesses, we basically try to adjust to the new normal of the situation, creating new product. And trying to go with our customer in these new territories, these new opportunities they're trying to explore. So I need to add to this essentially that we're data, and it's a trend that more and more decisions are being made using data. So our business is good because what's happening in reality is more and more companies are actually realizing that they need data to understand where they are, understand where the market is going, and get some factual numbers so that they can make better decisions. So even though we're doing what we can to help our customers that have paused their subscription with us due to the nature of the situation, we have been growing our customer base, again, by the fact that more people see the value and the necessity of data. So that's where we are. We're among the lucky ones here, I must say.
Yes, indeed. I think we can all, you know, myself included, where data is key at the moment, and I think that you're clearly benefiting in some ways because of that. In terms of the company, you mentioned, you know, evolving, following the customer, having to change. How has Forwardkeys adapted to survive during this period?
Well, you know, I think entrepreneurs have to be always a little bit on the worried side of things. Everybody knows that crises in general are the moments of changes, and this one is not escaping to the rule. So you have to be on top of things. You have to be closer to your customer. You have to listen to what the market is saying. You have to adapt your product to this new situation. And this is basically what we've been doing with speed, with ambition, with enthusiasm. So we basically invented a couple of more new products during this pandemic in order to help our customer to get access to information that gets more relevant to them. For example, it was essential that we would be in a situation to monitor these bubbles of rebound, which are still failing to materialize really. But in order to identify them, we needed to be able to get a good sense of restrictions that are enforced by countries from, allowing travelers or not to come to their destinations. Because I think in travel retail, we're all looking for these bubbles where we could expect that to see that rebound, where business could revive. While we're looking at some domestic markets which are not doing bad, and for us that was essentially about this, adapting ourselves to this new condition. The China market has become very important for a lot of our customers. Obviously, it's irrelevant for Forwardkeys to currently sell information about the number of Chinese that are going to London, because they're not going to London. They might be going to Hainan or anywhere else in China, and that is very relevant to our customers. So we've enhanced the quality of our domestic data for travel in China, but we will also develop new products to be able to track the spend of Chinese in China, so that our customer again can understand the new shopping behavior, and essentially if the market is picking up again, and the good news is it is, so that you can tell as an entrepreneur, a CEO, I'm always eager to. I know that crises are the time when you gotta make an extra effort to reinvent yourself, because that's what business is about.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the brands out there are very dynamic, and sometimes they give us lessons about being able to react and adjust to market condition in a matter of days. I'm basically trying, the best I can, me and my team here, to be able to meet that pace, which is very, very aggressive by data standards. But essentially, that's what we try to do.
Yeah, you mentioned adapting to provide new products for your customers at this time to reflect the scenarios, the constantly evolving scenarios. What are the sort of frequently asked questions or requests that you're receiving at the moment from your new and existing clients?
Well, the number one, the default question in the early days was, when is that ending? And the data do not bear that information in them at this point in time, because essentially what you're looking at is a travel market which is in a box. It is in the box of travel restriction enforced by governments that cannot even get their agreements and their acts together to harmonize a little bit what those restrictions are, or to try to refrain themselves from blocking a whole market, but set some condition that could allow us to operate within those markets. Maybe I need to be tested 3 times, that's okay, but allow me to get into these markets. So our customer essentially were asking us, okay, well, what's the rebound? How long will it take? And as I said, the data do not bear that in themselves, because the private sector, which is airlines, operators, airports, are not allowed to operate in normal condition. And the precondition of it all essentially are owned and filtered and controlled and limited by the restriction enforced by the state. So until we are able to clarify that situation of, okay, well, these are the rules of engagement in order for French to travel to Germany, for French to travel to Singapore, well, it's going to be very difficult to get any kind of visibility about when we're going to get back to a normal situation.
I think I might know how you will respond to this next question, but it seems natural to move on to this one. How do you think governments have responded to the pandemic thus far?
Well, personally, I think it's I'm certainly not judging anyone's willingness to do good in this situation. It is an unprecedented situation. It's very difficult. I mean, we data people are particularly well placed to understand that unless you had a similar situation in the past, it's very difficult to create an adequate answer. But I still regret, as I just said, that there's a lack of harmonization through, globally. I do believe that it would be feasible to agree that there will be 5 stages that would require more or less restrictions. I don't believe it is a necessity for airports to close down. I do believe there are ways to open up slowly and surely. Again, as I said, give us the rules, and we'll see whether we decide to travel, and give us some perspective. There's no reason on earth why I would want to book at this point in time a leisure trip anywhere in the world, even though an airline is making that flight available, because I know it is too risky. And so therefore, the conditions that they are not clear enough to allow the market to rebound. And I'm not downplaying the seriousness, obviously, of the COVID pandemic. I'm just arguing that there should be a little bit more coordination. And I'm arguing that it's not about closing down borders. It's about setting up the rules that are required in order to allow people to travel again. Now, that is said, I do understand the focus of our government on health and protecting the people. But I'm also conscious that travel in general and travel retail are strong contributors of local economies. Whatever country you're looking at, there is a part of GDP which comes from travel. right now, those governments are saying no, because when you close your border, you're obviously not going to get that business. But I think the reality of the wealth, economy, growth, distribution of wealth is going to hit fairly soon. And I guess it's going to become more important or more visible how the travel industry is contributing to global wealth, and how much we need to allow travel to happen, not only because it's good for the people. God, if we were limited to our own culture, wouldn't we be so boring? But also because it is a distribution of wealth altogether. And that needs to be re-facilitated ASAP, because otherwise, the next pandemic is an economic pandemic, essentially. So I think we need to look at that right now and make wise decisions vis-a-vis this topic.
You mentioned harmonization there, and ideally we're looking for a global harmonization, but I know from speaking with airports that there's not even harmonization by region, in terms of continents or even smaller regions. They can't even harmonize in a much smaller area. So yes, I think everyone that I've spoken to for all the Adapt and Survive videos in this series has called for harmonization, either across airports or governments, airlines. There's lots that could be achieved if there was greater harmony. Indeed. And in terms of the data that you've been collecting for your customers in the last few weeks, what has perhaps surprised you most, do you think?
Well, there is one learning thing here, is that as long as everyone's been doing business, we've always built our business case of last year based on previous year, and of next year, based on previous year. And obviously that is going to change. I mean, the retailers right now, they're trying to set up their business for Q4. Well, there's no historical information to use. It's all about how the market is moving right now. And we're seeing a lot of our customers using search data, because search data versus booking data, if you will, is a step before, and it's a proxy to people would like to be doing if they were allowed to do, which is interesting because, first of all, it reflects highly that people just want to travel. It's just about give them the means to travel. But the other thing that I think is important is they are reacting based on the flow of information served by the media permanently. We saw that when the UK forced quarantine to British people that were outside the country, in Spain, for example, we've seen the following day search moving radically. In other words, people in the UK were looking for alternative destination to Spain with the same desire to travel, if you will. And I think that's interesting. I'm afraid that our business in the coming 12, 16 months, God knows, is going to have to be super tactical. So you might have to use other kinds of information, and obviously market information are more than ever relevant, because this is going to be a moving target permanently until we get out of this and find again some stability, which is going to allow us to possibly reapply our usual golden rules of doing business. But short term is going to be tactical and essentially data driven. So I was mentioning search, but I also should mention, as I said earlier, spend, because the spend behavior is also a reflection of how people are shopping, what people are looking for. There's been big question marks, it's like, in China, how long would Shanghai get back into business? It was fairly quick. How long would domestic travel to destination like a leisure destination in China would pick up? They are picking up. So they're good reasons. I mean, so the data are telling us a number of indicators that can help us to make those decisions. And yeah, as we're saying, connected with one of your previous questions, that's where we're really focusing, to help our customer with the piece of information that allows us to make the right decision, essentially, which essentially is our raison d'être.
Of course. In a final question, I would like to ask you if you have a message of positivity. Not easy to issue at the moment, I know, and a lot of people, as you well know, are feeling disheartened and hopeless and very anxious and also disappointed at the fact that they've had to postpone their exciting projects and their investments. What message would you like to give the industry right now, and do you have any advice?
Yeah, well, the first thing is like to relate to these people and feel sorry and wish to express that we're a little bit of that as well. I mean, we're not going to get out of this as a community, if you will, if we don't join forces. It's a shared pain, even though, as I said at the starting point, we're not that impacted as a business, but frankly, again, that's not the point. The key message essentially is people will travel again, and there is a future in travel retail, essentially. The unknown at this point in time is to know when the long is going to take and how much that's going to hurt us, our colleagues, the industry, but there is a life. I predict essentially that when the rebound will take place, it will be extremely quick. Once people are unleashed, if you will, and they will be able to travel again. I mean, we're frustrating a lot of people which desire is to travel. I mean, I've been traveling for 25 years, and I guess it's the first time in my life I've been traveling in 6 months. It just, I miss it. There's something wrong there. So I think the rebound should be spectacular. And then we can look at early signs that I think are encouraging, which is some domestic market. We're talking about China. It's clear that a lot of our customers are focused on China, on the Chinese market, and from a spend or travel intent perspective, which means that this market is alive and kicking. It's just horribly frustrating, as we're all right now. So it's just a matter of patience. So when you cannot act, you need to improve your weaponry, adjust your strategy, look at your product, and get ready for when business is out again. And I mean that's who we are, mankind, and we're going to react and we're going to rebound as soon as we're technically able to do it. And whether this virus is going to go on its own, or whether we'll find a vaccine or whatever alternative there is to this equation, there is an alternative. Just a matter of time. So let's get prepared together, collectively, essentially.
Very, very sage words of advice there. Thank you very much for speaking with us today, Olivier. It's been great, and I wish you all the luck in the future. It sounds like you're gonna need your all the people you can get to distribute that data to as many clients as possible at the moment. So yeah, I wish you all the best, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me here.